I'm Loki Karuna, and this is TRILLOQUY. Hope you're doing well, or at least doing the best you can. That's definitely what my world is looking like right now, doing the best I can. So thanks so much for coming back and taking the time to hear the latest from TRILLOQUY. Always an honor to look at the numbers and to count you among those interested in dialogues that work toward the decolonization of what we call classical music. You know, I have people in my world who have been directly impacted by the storms down south, which has implicated me and the time I have for certain things as I do my best to offer support in all ways that I can. In thinking about that, I decided that I'll offer a Buddhist story at the end of today's opus to share how I'm making of it all, how I'm trying to think about all of these recent hardships in my life and in the lives of others. More on that in a bit. But for right now, I would like to introduce you to this week's guest. I'm actually really excited to present my recent dialogue with Ryan Nichols. Ryan is playing a big role in the planning of my high school class's 20-year reunion that's coming up in just a few months. I laugh because it's hard to even think about myself having a 20-year class reunion. But anyway, he reached out to me as a part of the promotion of the event to see if I'd be interested in having a chat that we could not only platform for our former classmates on his platform that he's created, but here on TRILLOQUY as well. Ryan wasn't just a class member. He was also in the band with me throughout middle school and high school, seventh grade on up. He played the trumpet, and he also took music theory with me our senior year. So while he's not a professional musician by any means, he certainly has a really firm background in what I'm doing with what all of us are doing in the arts. And he was able to engage and support some of the larger dialogues that I'm always trying to put forward here. All of that to say, thank you so much, Ryan, for coming onto the show and offering some thoughts on white supremacy as it relates to music education, in addition to taking a trip down memory lane with me back down to the good old Memphis days. So to get us into our chat, there are lots of things that I could share and would like to share musically. You know, when I think about my days growing up in Memphis, 3 6 Mafia is the group that comes to mind first because Memphis is very much a hip hop city. And that was sort of the soundtrack of my high school, my high school experience. But Memphis, you know, is also the home of the blues. So we're going to hear a little blues to get us into this chat. This rare recording comes from a YouTube channel called History Black America, a recording here of trumpeter W.C. Handy performing a tune called the Memphis Blues. Hope y'all enjoy a bit of these blues and hope you enjoy my chat with Craigmont High School Band alum Ryan Nichols. See you on the other side.
All the while, hospitality, they were good to me. I couldn't spend a dime, I had the grandest time. I went out a-dancing with the Tennessee deer. They had a fella there named Handy with a band you should hear. While those white folks swayed, how those band boys played real harmony. I never will forget the tune that Handy called the Memphis Blues. Oh, them blues. They had a fiddler there that always slickened his hair, and folks he sure could pull some bow. And when the big bassoon seconded the trombone's croon, that's when the break came in. It moaned just like a sinner on revival day, on revival day. That melancholy strain, that ever-haunting refrain, is like a morning sorrow song. Here comes the very part that wraps a spell around my heart. That's why the break came on the sax. It sets me wild to hear that loving tune again.
What I could tell myself, the high school version of myself, I could tell myself right now, I would say to be more dedicated
Hmm.
to your craft. Be more dedicated to your craft. Yeah.
Say more about that.
I mean, I could use you for example, right? I would say you was a person I looked at that always was dedicated in practice, you know. So something I learned. I saw you do it. It was like he's dedicated, he has a passion about what he's doing. And then in life, when when you're a kid, you take stuff for granted. You do what you want. You kind of just don't focus on certain things, and then it comes back later in life.
Hmm.
Like if you so being dedicated to something, I see you do it, was like amazing to see how disciplined you are, in your craft, and how you are now, or how far you went in life so far, right? And you're still going, you're still growing. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
great to see that, and you always been that since I met you in seventh grade. So I would tell myself that to be more dedicated to what you have a passion for.
What would you say you were dedicated to? What were you spending your time or your energy on as a high school student?
As a high school student, man, it was a lot. Man, you're trying to fit in,
Hmm.
fit in. Sometimes schoolwork isn't something you're just motivated to do. So I was more into I guess the social life into high school, right?
Hmm.
And hanging out, girls, I guess, stuff like that. Uh, of course, band. I could do just a good enough job to stay decent, quality level. But it's like you got to give more if you're going to be successful. So I would say I was distracted by all the things of teenagers, that we do as teenagers.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was going to ask you if you ever felt like being in band, playing the trumpet, was in conflict with the social life you were trying to maintain or the girls that you were chasing. Do you feel like they worked in tandem, or was there a conflict there at some point?
Yes. Was there a company? Some point I would say middle school dedicated. And like mom, it was more of back in elementary school you played the recorder, right? So you
Right.
find a liking for the recorder, and then get to seventh grade. Uh, like give it a shot. I really want to. Let's try the trumpet, right? Cool instrument. So seventh grade, we're learning. Mr. Turner, he played trumpet also. So it's me, Mr. Turner, and Avery Nolan. Me and Avery became really
Shout out
good
to
friends.
Avery. Yes.
We became really good friends in middle school. But we used to come to my house and practice all this stuff, right? But band was like getting better, so I just felt like, man, just keep growing with it. Like I like this a lot. So I'm having the development. I'm seeing the results, right? I never got to the greatest level of maturity as far as in band. You was always the best one, right? But we got to make sure we come back weekend. We know our scales. Make sure the new piece of music we need to know it, right? So I was really accurate and very good with that. But I got to about ninth grade, 10th grade year, start smelling myself, of course, right? Wasn't more into track deals then. And so at that point, it was pretty much like started being more like a socialite people. I like to mix it in, interact with different people, get into the crowds, hanging out. And band kind of went back to the back burner for me, kind of, So I stopped practicing like I should have, you know. And it showed like eventually got to a point where I just wasn't I didn't have a passion for it like I once had.
Mm, mm. Well, we're going to circle back to music, but I kind of want to talk more about you and the path that sort of led you to Craigmont High School and beyond. First and foremost, I don't think I know if you are like a native Memphian. Were you born in Memphis?
Yes, it's crazy you say that. I would have people growing up saying Connecticut or Philadelphia because my accent, I guess.
Hmm.
It doesn't sound like a Memphis person, I guess. So I never understood that. But I get that question a lot. Like, are you from Memphis? But yeah, I'm from Memphis. I grew up in Whitehaven. Moved to Raleigh when I was in kindergarten, fifth grade. Went to Raleigh Bartlett Meadows. So I always stayed in the neighborhood over there by Covenant Pike and Raleigh Grange. And so Craigmont was the school we was assigned to. Most of my whole childhood was in Raleigh Bartlett.
What do you remember about being a really young kid in Memphis? Where in all the places I've lived, I've worked hard to try to explain to people what Memphis is, what it means to be from there, for better or for worse. Sometimes I wonder how you define some of your earliest memories as someone from Memphis.
My earliest memories in Memphis. So I can remember all the way back to Whitehaven. Whitehaven's like in the south, down south. It's a black neighborhood. Used to be a white neighborhood, but Memphis is pretty much a black city now.
Yep.
Pretty much across the board. But I just remember, you remember Graceland? I mean, you remember driving down Elvis Presley? I mean, I remember my apartment complex, kids outside playing. Then same thing when we moved to Raleigh, town, the Raleigh Barley area. Nice house. I mean, kids everywhere. But we all played. It was black, white kids, Asian kids. But we always played, was outside. Like my neighborhood is very close to me. It's very deep to my heart, right? So I don't live there anymore. My parents' house still there. But my first house I bought stayed in my neighborhood when I grew up in. I don't live in that neighborhood anymore. I moved 4 years ago. But like my life story is really Memphis and it's in that neighborhood. So Memphis, it's a lower city compared to New York City.
Hmm.
Of course, I mean, you've been there, you've been here, right?
Yeah, of course.
You stayed, you lived here. But I like slow pace. I like slower pace. So Memphis is very slower pace. I know people hear things bad about Memphis. It's just more any city, but you just know where you stay out certain areas. Of course, you should be okay. So I love the city. I love Memphis.
And that's the case for any city. I mean, there are places
Right,
in New York, Los Angeles, Detroit, all the places I've lived, Knoxville, Tennessee, where you shouldn't go, at least by yourself. I, I
right.
find I find it interesting how quickly race became a part of this conversation because
Mm.
in all of the work that I've been doing in classical music and outside of it, race is that thing. And I feel like growing up in Memphis gives us a very specific context around race. It would be one thing if we went to a predominantly white high school in a
Mm.
predominantly white city, and then we're trying to discover who we are. But I feel like blackness is just so ingrained in us. It makes it difficult for some people from Memphis, certainly myself, to really adhere to white norms or to norms or spaces that don't really celebrate or respect blackness. Do you would you consider that a product of growing up in a city like Memphis?
Would I consider that? Yeah, I will say that. Like Memphis, like I said, it's a black city, but where I live at now, I'm in Bartlett now. Bartlett growing up was more white part
Hmm.
of town. So still, people are still scared to drive through Bartlett because of police. You know
Oh
how it
yeah,
go. People
and
drive
that
down stage.
speed.
You get to stage road, and then you slow down.
Hmm.
People, the generation of police officers in Bartlett are different now. They're younger. They don't stop you they as much they used to, but the reputation is still there. So when you go to Bartlett, most black people would kind of uh, we're on high alert. But flip side of that, in Memphis, it's very much probably different. Just that little line between Bartlett and Memphis is totally different.
Hmm.
They're so close to each other, so it's a crazy dynamic. But it's very much so there as far as like like the racism, but at the same time, we're all somewhat Memphian, so we do respect each other. It's very got a lot of Southern hospitality in Memphis and Bartlett, so people do show love to each other. It's not as racist as people might think the connection. Right?
Yeah, I would
So,
agree with that. I definitely would agree with that. What career path did you end up taking after high school and beyond?
man, high school after high school, career path after high school. I would say right now, I'm a firefighter, right?
And
But
thank
that
you
was
for your work.
appreciated, but it was a journey after high school. It was a journey. I mean, how long we got for this journey? It was a journey. I'll say that. So I'm gonna try to keep it brief, right? After high school, I heard, I guess I got injured my 11th grade year, going into 12th grade. I was supposed to go to FAMU, and right, I had an injury, so I couldn't go to the marching band. So, Garrett, me, I'm gonna Loki. My mind went somewhere else. I quit band 12th grade year. I didn't do band. I did AP music still, but I didn't really have a path. I didn't know exactly where. I just knew I was placed that I wasn't. I was in the place of I won't say depression, but as a kid, you go into adulthood, you don't have an actual plan.
Hmm.
So my dad sat me down one day at the end of the high school, and I said, "Man, situation with your sister and brother, school, you got no scholarships, I come out of pocket. Grade school, what you like to do. So I know computers. So I went the computer route. I successful, got some certifications, got a job early on, by 19, paid pretty good. Uh, so computer wasn't my passion though. I met that world that developed me and that it showed me a love for people. I got an opportunity to work with people who was 20, 30, 40 years old, 50 years old with families. So I got exposed to the workforce and I grew in that. They helped me out a lot. But the place I worked at wasn't a place you could grow in.
Mm.
So I had another passion in life was basketball, coaching. Uh, Coaching was very good passion. Helping kids who were my age at 17. Got a chance to coach for several years in that age group and also smaller kids. But I always knew it was a passion. Like I have a passion for people, right? And then just I started refereeing basketball, traveling. Talking about college basketball, high school. I'm growing. Man, I'm having this. I'm doing everything. I'm having everything I have a passion for. I'm doing now, right? But as time went on, you know, there's still so much room to grow. And then opportunity came with the fire department. Was like, this is the perfect place for me because it's about somebody having the worst day of their lives, right?
Hmm.
And somebody comes in to help them. That would be me, right? That's my whole life story. It's like I want to help people, and I get an opportunity to fire. So every day I go to work, I don't know what's my next call. So I like that about that. I don't know. It's not the same routine. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, but someone needs your help, and I have a passion to help. So it's almost now I'm on a journey of ministry, as far as like that's pretty much the path I'm on, right? So in the fire department, so many opportunities to grow and so many things to move up the ranks, and it's not a lot of limits in our field as far as expanding my career, right? I could move up at any time, whatever, and expand outside the field. But God just take me on that journey, man, and I'm loving it, brother. I'm loving it. So my career right now is firefighting, but that career it gave me a passion where it's like I want to grow the spiritual self and ministry and helping people. So,
Ashe.
yeah.
Ashe. I love that. I love that. Well,
Okay.
I want to loop back to music and I want to ask you sort of two questions in one. So, one of the big things that sort of sparked my activism among the things was thinking about the separation between what we were learning. Let's say, let's not even go to bands yet, what we were learning in elementary school music versus the music that was around us just in Memphis. I have clear memories of walking down Bill Street as a kid with my family, hearing the blues, hearing all that music, and not engaging that whatsoever in elementary
Right.
school music. It felt like such a
Mm.
separation. I wonder if you have a similar experience. How do you think about Memphis music versus the music that you were learning in school at the earliest age?
Memphis music and the music I learned is man, that's how it was. It's like Memphis music is rap. I'm talking about like the 3 6 Mafias, you have the blues. Memphis had a lot of different sounds, soulful sounds. But when you're in school, you're learning music, classical music, Beethoven, stuff that doesn't really resonate with me as far as my everyday life.
Right.
But it was an opportunity to expand and learn about other cultures. But as far as Memphis, it didn't connect. So it was kind of hard to always focus on classical music, especially during middle school, especially high school. So I said I did recorder in elementary school, simple stuff like hot cross buns, the
Hmm.
normal routine stuff. But middle school, learned the instrument, but high school when it really came about Mrs. Turner, her classical style of music. I enjoyed it, but it didn't fit where we was the people, the kids who was part of it, it just didn't fit who we were.
Right.
So it didn't gravitate to me in that sense. So it didn't feel like authentic. Like I was being my authentic self because I wasn't playing authentic music that I'm accustomed to.
Yep. Yep. And I will throw Mrs. Turner a little bail because one of my fondest memories of high school band, and I think we were in the ninth grade. She put a Kwanzaa tune on the holiday concert, a piece of music called Imani, and I've aired that piece of music on the radio. Like that's been a piece of music that's traveled with me. But I definitely agree with you that there was certainly, as I said, a dichotomy, just a separation between Memphis music, who we were culturally, and school music. Even go to church music, like all of
Right,
us growing up in the church, that was very different than what we
right.
were learning in school. I know that we talked a little bit about race earlier, but how these thoughts and ideas have evolved in my life and my work is identifying the white supremacy culture that
Hmm.
really blankets all of that. The fact that you can grow up in a city, a black city with so much music history and so much rich musical culture and not tap into that as a music student in high school. Do you think that's just going too deep, reaching too far, or are there some connections from your perspective there?
There are connections because, like I said, like just my lower level of knowledge, that's the field that you're in. Like I experienced some of it in high school. Like y'all have different terminologies in your field. I learned a couple of terminologies when I was playing band, right? Small. I mean, I'm on lower level terminology like forte, like gradually get louder. But y'all
Sure.
have so many precise words. The language is very different. Y'all very precise. Y'all precision is like, so y'all use certain words of meaning, it's musical meaning, but conversations, it's not a lot of black people in those spaces. So to me, you represent that. You're in those spaces, and what you're doing is very powerful because not a lot of blacks in the field of music. So after you're like this realm that a lot of black people are not familiar with. So I do see the connection where somebody has to do that, and I'm glad that you're doing it. Point it out, like we have to have more. I think I watched a video of yours. You was talking about it. Forgot what place you was at. Maybe Kennedy Center. You was talking about that as far as the gospel
Yeah.
up at in Memphis. The songs we sing, that's American stuff. Classical music isn't really based off American culture. So it's like hip hop soul is that, and it has to be acknowledged in these places that you're in. So I do see the connection, and I'm like I say, I'm watching, man. I mean, what you're doing is powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and I don't want anyone to get me wrong. I am very grateful for the music education that I did receive in high school because it opened up a whole world for me. I've gotten to see the world, live in many different places, and there's so many folks, especially in Memphis, who would have never had the opportunities that we had in high school. I mean, you mentioned AP Music Theory, which a
Yeah,
lot of kids did not have the opportunity to do before we started recording. We were briefly talking about taking Japanese as high school
yeah,
students. There were middle school students even. So
right.
so there was a lot there and a lot to be grateful for. But with that being said, I think it's always important to just acknowledge what could have been or what the missing links were. I wonder from your perspective, what would be the use or why would it be important for the next generation of music students to engage the music of their communities and their lives more organically than we had the opportunity to?
Uh, Kids in the community engage more into the culture. I would say, it's funny. It's very important. I would say this is very important, but I've seen it. I just saw it this weekend. Went back to the old school. Went to high school. Went to the Craigmont. Right, football game. There's so much I learned that has happened in the last decades since we left. Right, these kids they have a new band director, black guy from Detroit,
Okay.
but so I'm reminiscing, going back to these high school moments of how we came up, and then I'm seeing these kids, and I'm hearing the sound. It's all it's black. It's culture. It represents the people that's actually playing. And then I'm actually, so I talked to the director. Well, I knew about him before I talked to him, but it was more of he was confirming it. Like, man, you don't won 7 years straight of competitions, black sound.
Wow.
So it's like Craigmont is a totally different band now. And then it's like it's authentic. It's who they are. And I got the chance to actually see it. It was very important because you could tell it was a unity. Like the football team was terrible. The other team was terrible, but everybody came to see Craigmont band. Everybody came to see the band. It was something to see. And it was like, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is who they are. This is what they represent. These kids, I'm not a big hip hop fan anymore. But this is where they're raised. This is their upbringing. And if you want to teach them the instrument, do something that's familiar with, something they like to help them grow, you know. So that's my thing. I saw it recently, so it's very important to add that to the dynamic of your culture. You gotta put that sound that they know to their teaching. I think it's very important.
Was it? I hate to ask this question, but when I think about going to a Craigmont football game today, I'm thinking about, okay, am I going to have to run? Is somebody going to be fighting? Like, what was the general vibe of the game?
Far as the game, I got there like third quarter. So I left my daughter a volleyball game. So I'm looking like, okay, I called my friend. Are y'all at the game? So the game got promoted. It was a Raleigh Spring Classic. Craigmont versus Raleigh by
Oh,
rival, right?
right,
So it's a rivalry game. So okay, rivalry games, it could be tension. But I get there, it was just love. Everybody showed. We had our Craigmont alumni tent. It was grilling. Yes, I got saw a lot of classmates throughout the different graduation classes. But everybody was happy, man. We had people from Raleigh Egypt on our side. It was in, fellowship with us and embracing everything. They have a new trophy now, the Raleigh Springs Classic Football Trophy. So after we lost the game. Principal came and gave them the trophy, but Craigmont and the players and the other players from Raleigh Egypt, they all smiled, they all hugged each other. It was a beautiful sight. It was like there was no tension. There was a lot of people together with no problem, no issues. Nobody had any beefs or the environment was very. I didn't expect it myself. Kind of hood. It was kind of hood, but I had to throw my head on backwards at one point. But I enjoyed it, man, and everybody had fun. But the band, man, they just did a Southern Heritage Classic last September, in past September, like last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess. They won like 5 awards.
wow,
Man, 5 awards. And they also incorporated the majorettes now into the band. Like we had majorettes when majorettes started with us, our class.
right.
But we had a drum line separated from the band that used the majorettes. But now they have the majorettes performing with the band. So,
Yeah,
but
that's great to hear. Yeah, you've inspired me. I got to get down to Memphis and get to
man,
a football game. When you're talking about all the love that was shown amongst the students, I'm glad to hear that because that's something that I've noticed in other places that I've lived and worked over these past 20 years. It seems like the younger generation, they're more in tune with I hate to say in tune with their emotions, but they're just friendlier to each other. They're showing more love. And you're a father now.
right.
But what do you think what do you attribute to that? Just the natural flow of time? Is it social media that's done it? What do you think?
I was as far as love, I guess I would say time. I would say time. Time would be the answer. Just things spread so much faster now. If it happens in Minnesota 5 seconds ago, I got it here in Memphis.
Right.
I know what happened. So we all share the same stories. Everything is universal now. It's not really regional anymore. The sounds are universal. I don't really like universal sounds, but universal does bring people on the same page.
Hmm.
Gets people on the same page much faster rate. So being an old school person, to me, that's like it's progressive, but at the same time, I'm kind of old school. So I like to stay in my pockets and space. But looking at the youth, it plays a great part in opening up and showing love is and being able to connect on one accord. That's what the whole thing about life. Everybody feel love and you want everybody to grow. I think there's more access now, but I will say, yeah, it's going the right direction as far as that, as far as people embracing people and showing love. And I'm learning from the younger generation every day, you know.
You mentioned Minnesota. A question just popped into my mind. I lived in the Twin Cities during uh, the murder of George Floyd and all of the uprisings and all of those things. What did that era look like in Memphis? Were there protests? What was the response?
During George Floyd time protests, a lot of protests. Actually, time I was going to Greater Money,
Hmm.
Apostle Bill Atkins. He was on the front line. Pretty much one of the pastors who was on the front line, marching across the bridge. He was leading those protests. But him and his deacons and ministers, other ministers, but they was on the front line. So we had a mask up, during COVID. They all happened during COVID, right? George
Yep.
Floyd.
Yep.
So it was powerful, but it wasn't in Memphis. We have a lot of in MPD. It's also same as fire department. It's a black police force.
Hmm.
So it wasn't a racial tension with people, officers. Um, so we didn't really have any issues with that because they look like us, right? Tyree Nichols was a different case,
Right. Of course.
but as far as George Floyd, it being in Minnesota, it being on that side of the country, in Memphis, it wasn't a lot of violence. It wasn't no looting. It was just people protesting support.
It
That's how I
wasn't
looked at
looting.
Memphis.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't no looting. Might have been one I might have forgot to mention, but it might be one. It's been a long time ago. We had a couple protests after George Floyd, but I don't remember anything being damaged. You know.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just thought I would throw that in there. You made me think of that. But to loop back to your life as a father, I did see on social media you mentioned that your daughter has not only taken up music, she's taken up the trumpet. What does that mean to you? Like what do you feel like you can help her with, or what can you inform her with as someone who was on the exact same path 20 plus years ago?
Man, what can I help my daughter with? So when it happened, it was started last school year, elementary going to middle school. So they sign up when the last day of school come, they go to the middle school and then they look at the classes they might want to perform in. Right? So we get to like PE, we get the choir, orchestra, we get the band. So I'm looking like band takes a lot of effort, a lot of work, takes a lot of dedication. I'm telling her these things, right? She's like, well, I don't know, I might just try choir.
Hmm.
Okay, so something comes up that weekend where they have to come up to the school. You signed up for bands, you signed up for band and choir. Come to the school and practice the instrument. I'm at work that day, right? I'm at work. So they go to the school. My wife called me. She says, guess what? The teacher says she's probably best at trumpet. I said,
Wow.
trumpet. So I'm looking like, okay, trumpet. I said, that's my field. So I called my nephew. I gave my nephew, he played in the Barley High School band. He had my trumpet. But he played tuba. He graduated with tuba. But he gets my trumpet. He done broke my trumpet. He damaged the bell. Like, why you didn't tell me this like 3 years ago, right? So anyway, they have a band camp, summer camp, 4 weeks long in Bartlett school systems. We get her a trumpet for Emerald, and she's playing. She's doing good. So one day, me being dead, I said, man, you know what? I got a mouthpiece. I got it right here. I said, I want to practice with you, right? I haven't played trumpet at this point. It's 20 years, Loki. I haven't played 20 years. So I get the trumpet and I try to blow a note and blow. I can't, I can't blow, right? So I'm trying to tell them I'm this big trumpet. I played trumpet all my life. Boom, boom, boom. But I knew when them chops going, they're gone. You got to rebuild them up. So that's the part of the discipline you have to do in the music. So 2 days later, I'm practicing. She's not at home. I'm practicing trumpet, right? So 2 days later, I come back with her. I'm showing her scales. So I'm blown. I'm doing good now. But I think she got a little intimidated because I was doing really good. She was kind of like she didn't want to practice with me anymore. She felt like I was trying to steal the show, maybe. But it wasn't the case. But right now she's like I said, she practiced. I wish she practiced a little bit more, but she's sixth grade band. She started a year earlier than me. So I mean, she stick with it. I think she could, I could help her out more. So I do want to practice with her. That is it's inspiring me to kind of like I want to relearn this with her.
Mm,
So I do mess around and play the trumpet when I'm by myself at home, just to
oh, I
kind of
love
get
that.
yeah. So it takes me back to high school, So it's just like a full circle thing.
So, what are your demands, I'll say, for her band director? We already talked about the way that our high school in 2024 is engaging Black music. What would you ask of her band director along those lines?
Uh, what I would want from her, like I said, right now I like the way I like his language. He said he doesn't do he doesn't really like do sign offs anymore for his parents signing off. He says, I know if you practice or not when you come here Monday morning from the weekend. So I just listen to you. I don't need to grade you. I just know if this person's time is gonna show. So I like that approach that he has, right? But as far as so he's not really looking for them right now, sixth grade he just to learn certain songs. He just want them to see if they really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in that phase right now, for sixth grade to see if you do make the seventh grade, this is what I'm gonna require from you guys. I'm gonna require 100% dedication. Sixth grade is more like a trial. He said it's gonna be a trial for these guys. I'm not gonna require much, but they're gonna have to show me if they want to be here. So that's what the phase we in right now with her band. And right now I would say she practice maybe 3 times a week. I would say practice every day, but that's just me growing up as a person, knowing what it takes. Say earlier, what would I tell my younger self? I wish she would be dedicated, more dedicated to her craft. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and wrapping up here, I want to talk a little bit about this 20-year class reunion for us that's coming up, and it even
right,
feels weird
man.
to say 20 years. Wow. But I wonder if there are any shout outs you want to make or anything that you like to plug as we approach 20 years of the class of 2005.
The class of 2020, 2005, 2000, going into 2025. I just want us guys to come together and just get ready for the next chapter in life. Like I think that's so important. Like you, I've been knowing you since seventh grade, right? Seeing you right now is great to see. To be able to talk to Loki at 37 years old, 38 years old. And then it's just a lot of stuff in my life we'll see that stuff come back around full circle. And sometimes people need each other later on in life. Like I might need to see you this form where you in. Because you're still an inspiration to me, right? So I think classmates need to see that, in their classmates. They need to be inspired. Sometimes somebody might be in a low place in life right now, right? But just being inspired by a classmate to motivate them to be more, to get out this slump. So I think it's very important going into the next chapter of our lives because we're going to be facing a lot of new things that we never faced before. And so when we get to those points, you want to have people from your past that you grew up with, that you're familiar with, or just people that's been part of your life. You want to have that support. You want it to be, you want it to feel real. You want to have real support and real love going into this next phase. So I think that's very important. That's why I think this reunion is a very important thing for all of us. So like I said, it's people that need to see you that never people. I got lucky enough. So you did a lot of what honors classes,
Mm-hmm.
honors. So I got lucky enough to take classes with you, do the band. Everybody didn't get a chance to see you be a master in what you do, but that was important to me to see somebody be so disciplined, dedicated to something, so I can reference back when I get older and do it too. Seen it done before by a 12-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
so or a 13-year-old, So those things are very important in our lives as we continue to grow.
I mean, and I definitely appreciate all those words. And I'm also thinking about folks who, I see today who have done so much. And I'm gonna say some names. I'm thinking about, of course, my homegirls, Megan and Brooke,
Right, right.
Brooke Dubois, just a lawyer and out here traveling the world, look like she got all kind of money. We
Mm,
got folks like Lakeisha Chisholm and
right,
Katrina
right.
Crane, both of which who've gone on to be doctors and doing
Mm,
incredible things. So they're all sorts of successes
right,
in our graduating class. With that said, within our class, there was, and I wouldn't say intentional, but just some segregation, for lack of a better word. Not all of us knew each other. Like
right,
when I think about going to this 20-year reunion, I'm thinking about meeting people maybe for the first time who I graduated with and
right.
making those connections. I wonder if you have any thoughts on how that can happen most organically, what you would encourage folks in our class to be thinking about on that subject specifically. Many of us are going to be meeting each other for the first time, really.
Right, right. So like right now, to reconnect, start talking about as far as people connecting or people just the affiliation of being from Craigmont. It's to me, it's like so. What I'm doing right now, oh, Craigmont reunion, as far as media, the videos, the podcast, the trivia things. I'm trying to get people who might haven't ever encountered each other to kind of come together. Let's have fun. Let's play games together. Let's hear Loki talk about his career. Let's hear him. You might never met him, but I think you might need to check this guy out because he's special. And I think you should know. Like I tell people, you saw the first podcast talked about Casey Jackson, Sean
Yep.
Bays. I said your name, and so I think a lot of people didn't get to see that. I said this guy might be the most like everybody saw Sean Bays because he's athlete, right? Athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But I said you guys didn't really get this chance to see the greatest talent to me. It's cool. It wasn't a sport. You played bassoon. It wasn't an maybe you know better than me. Bassoon to me wasn't the instrument of the instrument of sound of choice, a favorite. It wasn't a favorite instrument.
Right.
But you blend the sound for everybody. You kind of blended the sound and everything sounded good. It was an instrument that wasn't the highlight instrument. But to watch you be a team player, be the best, was just a show in itself. So I don't think a lot of classmates need to see that, but they never got a chance to see it. So I think people need to see you talk or just to see your life to see how it's going. You can motivate them. And they probably know you. They knew he was in school with me, he did. I didn't know this guy was just this type of person. But I think they need to see that person. So when they come to the reunion, it's not so y'all are more familiar with each other now. They know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be afraid to say, man, let me go talk to this man. This is a man of high honor. So that's the whole thing I'm trying to do right now. Connect that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that work.
Yeah.
And don't let me hear about Casey Jackson acting new. Now I've known her since elementary school, so
shout,
about
shout out to Casey Jack. Always shout out to Casey.
definitely, definitely. I think she's a principal now or something. Isn't that right?
She's in the admin field.
Oh,
I won't say principal, but she's up there.
that's great. Well, my final question, and we kind of touched on this earlier when you were talking about the love that you were seeing amongst students. I'm sure that you can understand that not everybody in our class had a great time.
Right,
Folks were
right,
bullied, folks were, ostracized. I'm grateful to not really have that experience or memory.
right.
I felt very welcomed, but there are many people who didn't. I wonder what you would say to the next generation about this issue. Why is it important to really practice that kindness when you're 13, 14, 15, 16 years old?
Practice kindness at 13, 15, 14, 15. It's very important. Us growing up, kids was gonna be kids. Same things as the kids gonna be kids. But just practice at a young age, it helps you so much in life later. Just for us. I didn't I might say jokes with you, but nothing serious, nothing bad. But at the same time, I respected you enough to say, man, this guy, he's a person that you should respect this person. He doesn't cross any lines. He's here to do his job. He's here to work. He's here to learn. He's trying to become a better person. So why should somebody pick on this person, right? And then look at 20 years now, and you sitting right here because of kindness. It was always a kindness. It was never to bully somebody. But even for bullies, it's like later in life, they grow up. And maybe the kindness didn't start at a young age, but later in life, they went through some things, and you come with open arms, and they embrace you. And it's just a different phase of life, but it's best to practice it early. I would say that. So you won't have to go through a lot of different things. And you can always have somebody you can reach out to for help. Bully everybody. You might not feel like people want to help you. So I think it's best to just be kind and just show love and just embrace people for who they are and what they are.
Paper, Scissors, Rock, a tune there performed by the Craigmont High School Marching Band back in 2022. I'm so proud to be an alum of this program and for my entire life to have been shaped by the music education that I got from Craigmont High School, and a huge gratitude to all the folks that made it possible for me to do that. Shout out to Ron and Paula Turner. Shout out to Mike McKenzie, to all of my band classmates. And of course, shout out to Ryan Nichols for joining me today. Hope y'all enjoyed getting that little bit of a peek into my origin story. All right. So for this week's Trilloquy, as promised, I'm going to read a quick story that I've been thinking about as these literal and proverbial storms have been passing through the country and through my life. This is called The Parable of the Mustard Seed. A woman named Kisa Gotami has lost her child. She goes to a wise Buddhist sage. She asks the wise one, "How can I survive something so terrible, much less heal from it? I cannot go on." The wise one says, "Go and collect 3 mustard seeds from the village, from homes that have never known suffering. When you have those, bring them back to me, and we'll make something with it to help you through." Kisa Gotami is elated. Finally, a solution. She goes to every home in the village, and yet every person she meets in the village informs her sadly, "I cannot give you a mustard seed." They tell her, "My daughter was deathly ill recently," or "My elderly father just passed away," or "We lost half our crops to drought last summer, and we were terribly hungry." As she makes her way through the village, sharing her own vulnerable story and receiving the stories of her neighbors in turn, stories she never would have heard had she not had her own loss, she has an awakening. The cure for her broken heart, she realizes, isn't one that can really be made from mustard seeds. Nothing can restore the child that has been taken from her, but healing can still come in the form of the right kind of story. Learning this, Kisa Gotami goes on to become one of the enlightened sages of the age in her own right, helping others to have more compassion for others as well as for themselves. And so goes the parable of the mustard seed. For the sake of letting you apply that tale to your life as you may, I think I'll leave it there. Thanks again for joining me here. I'll talk to y'all again soon. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Peace.